Turning now to the government shutdown in its 9th day, the president blaming Democrats for the deaths of 2 migrant children without any proof.
ABC's White House correspondent Tara Palmieri is at the White House with the latest. Good morning, Tara.
Good morning, Eva. It's become a waiting game with federal workers in limbo since both the Democrats and the White House say both sides are unwilling to compromise. The president, in the heat of a government shutdown, blaming the Democrats without proof for the deaths of 2 migrant children who died while in U.S. custody. In his first comments on the tragedy, tweeting, quote, "The Democrats and their pathetic immigration policies that allow people to make the long trek thinking they could enter our country illegally. They can't. If we had a wall, they wouldn't even try." Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen on the southern border for the 16th time this year, examining detention centers, including one in El Paso, Texas, where 8-year-old Felipe Gomez Alonso was detained with his father before being transferred to a facility in New Mexico where he died. Nielsen's visits were closed to the press, but she said in a statement, quote, "The system is clearly overwhelmed, and we must work together to address this humanitarian crisis." Many of these facilities at capacity, and new filings obtained by the Arizona Republic paint a grim picture.
I can give you the description of people huddled together in very small rooms. That has to be fixed.
On the 9th day of a government shutdown, the president buckling down on his demand for a wall that he claims could have prevented all this. Meanwhile, negotiations are at a halt. The president's last conversation with Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and incoming Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi was 19 days ago.
I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck.
800,000 federal employees either working without pay or furloughed. And the White House warns that this fight is far from over. New mom Angela Cabana says her husband is among the 53,000 TSA employees at work with no paycheck.
He's the sole breadwinner, and we've got 2 young kids, and it's pretty scary not knowing when you're going to get paid.
And now the president's outgoing chief of staff, John Kelly, in a new interview with the Los Angeles Times, acknowledging that the administration long gave up on the idea of a concrete border wall, telling the paper, quote, "To be honest, it's not a wall." He added that the president privately calls it a barrier or fence. Dan?
Tara, thank you. Let's bring in ABC's Martha Raddatz, who's in Washington right now, where she will be co-hosting This Week later this morning. Martha, good morning. Let's talk about the president blaming Democrats for the deaths of those children at the border. You've spent quite a bit of time reporting all along the southern border. Is there any validity to the president's claim that if we had a wall there, migrants wouldn't even try to make this dangerous journey?
Well, it depends on who you ask, of course, Dan. There's no evidence, as you've said, as Tara said, that these deaths can be blamed on Democrats, certainly. What I've seen when I'm down there is people still try to climb some of those barriers. They still get through in certain places along that very vast border of 2,000 miles. There are, of course, a lot of natural barriers down there. There are ports of entry. But we just don't know the full story about how those migrant children died, and they are looking at that very, very carefully.
Yeah, and there's a lot of talk that one of the best ways to prevent people from making the journey would be to invest in fixing the situation on the ground in those troubled Central American countries. But let me ask you another question. As we know, the president has been blaming the current government shutdown, partial government shutdown, on the Democrats' refusal to fund the aforementioned wall. Coming up later this morning on This Week, you're going to be interviewing one of the newest members of the Democratic leadership in the House, the incoming leadership. How are the Democrats responding to Trump's attacks on border security?
Well, I think this is going to be a very wild week. You have Congress coming back. You have the Democrats offering 3 options, and they'll take one to the floor right away on Thursday. Nancy Pelosi says they will act swiftly to end the Trump shutdown when Congress returns. But none of those options includes money for the wall. And you heard Tara say there that the president is buckling down. He wants that wall. He says he won't budge. So a lot is going to be happening this week on trying to fund the government again, trying to get the government reopened again, and those employees back to work, those federal employees.
There will be a lot happening. The question is whether it will make any difference. Martha Raddatz, really appreciate it. And a reminder, Martha's got a big show this morning. She's scored an exclusive interview with Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Kevin McAleenan. Plus, she'll go one-on-one with Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, one of the newest members of the incoming House Democratic leadership. That's coming up on This Week, right here on ABC.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.